You're listening to Thursday Night Tailgate with Chris Mascaro and Bob Lazari, where NFL legends live on. Back to you, boys.
It's him. He's alive.
And now joining us on the Kaiven Foods guest line is Reuben Davis. Let me give you some background on Reuben. He's from Greensboro, North Carolina. At Grimsley High School, he was named All-State Defensive Lineman. Reuben also excelled in track, winning the state discus title in 1983. Played his college ball at the University of North Carolina, where he was named All-ACC in his junior season. He was a ninth-round draft pick by the Tampa Bay Bucs in 1988, and the Bucs website recently named him, oh, by the way, one of their top 10 all-time draft steals. Played in the NFL from 88 to 1996 for the Bucs, Cardinals, and Chargers. He was a member of the Chargers Super Bowl team in 1994, and we are honored to have him with us tonight here on Thursday Night Tailgate. Hey, Reuben, Chris, and Bob here. Thanks for coming on the show.
How you guys doing tonight? Hope everything is clear. You can hear me good, and it's great to be on, man. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Listening to Tony
Reuben,
right there.
I want to start by going back to your time at the University of North Carolina. As a kid who grew up in Greensboro, which is about an hour west of Chapel Hill, was there any doubt that you were going to be a Tar Heel, or were there other schools that were recruiting you that you thought you might go to?
Yeah, I was actually being recruited pretty heavily, but I had done several summer camps at Carolina. And I had got comfortable with the campus, and one of the things growing up back then was that color, and it's actually still a big part of what helps recruit a lot of kids to Carolina. Is there's something about that sweet Carolina blue. So I was already bought around about the 7th, 8th grade, just off of the uniforms and everything, and then going, by it being so close, actually going down to the games with friends and everything, and it didn't hurt to be watching a player like Lawrence Taylor on the field. So my motivation and desire and dream to be there was just, the foundation was just being laid.
And it's interesting that you mentioned Lawrence Taylor, Reuben, because, obviously he played his ball there at Carolina. Did he ever come back and talk to you guys, whether it was from a motivational standpoint or, coaching from a, techniques or, provide pointers to you guys? Was he around?
Actually, he was. I mean, he gets a little bad rap, but yeah, he actually came back. He actually, I got a chance to meet him in the summer, one of the summer camps, and he had come back as a staff member, and he was a great period. I mean, he was real good with kids, and he just got a bad rap for just being a bad guy, but he actually did. He actually recently, a couple of years ago, came back. And talked to the team before they went out to play. I can't actually remember the game. I think it was like a homecoming game and everything. So, I mean, he puts a little time in on the hill. He comes back, sneaks in and plays a little golf, and stuff like that. He's a great person. I mean, it's just, to me, it's like, one of the greatest NFL players ever. And then also to come from Carolina, then myself come from there to be able to, recognize that he totes that title, and coming from a university right now that we don't have that national championship above us, but we are a university that has put out a lot of great athletes. Is something to be proud of.
And Reuben, most sports fans know how intense the North Carolina and Duke rivalry is on the basketball court. But is it just as intense on the football field as well?
Yeah, because it's so close. You got guys we running in and out of the barbershop, local and around in the different venues, so we see each other and everything. I'm great friends with a lot of former Duke players that I'm actually living back in Chapel Hill. I'm back on the Hill now, and so I see guys that played during my era, and we still got to poking other fingers, talking junk, and we look forward to both seasons. And football is just as competitive as the basketball. I mean, we don't get the notoriety with what they call the Tobacco Road battle, but we have the exchanging of the bail and everything. So that gets stolen or whatever during the year, repainted and everything. And so we try to hold it. Right now we have it over. It's on the Hill right now. So hopefully we can keep that going. But yeah, it's a tremendous Rivalry. There's been a lot of different documentaries done within the last 3 or 4 years. Been done on the basketball side and the football side. So it's something to keep the juices flowing for the locals that we look forward every year outside of our other rivalries that, but I think Duke and Carolina is probably the most intense rivalry that probably on the Southeastern board that you can come across.
Bob, questions for Reuben?
Reuben, it's great to speak with you. Thanks for joining us tonight. And Chris had mentioned about being such a steal in that 88 draft. I wanted to get your thoughts and your expectations during that draft. And what was that whole day like, and, well, a couple of days like, as far as waiting for your name to be called, Reuben?
Well, I'm gonna try to get the short version of that. That's a pretty long one there, Bob. But the way that went was, I actually was, I didn't have the best combine, so I really wasn't expecting to go. I had been slated early in my career to be in the top 3. A lot of people don't know that I actually broke my neck going into my redshirt sophomore year. I cracked vertebrae C7, and so it happened in the spring ball, and I was able to actually, sit down with the doctors and my parents and made the decision that I wanted to play football. And the doctors, told me everything I needed to do. At that time, I was about a size 15 neck. So, I needed to get into the weight room. So I hit the weight room. I didn't have to end up getting surgery. It fused itself back together, but I basically transformed my body from about 269 pounds, bumping up to about 290, 22-inch neck. So that was the start from there. And then, the next thing was, I just ended up having 2 great years to finish up. It showed that, I could go back out on the field and play, that I had the, desire. I wasn't nervous about it. I had put it behind me. I didn't have any more worries. I did, wear some special equipment, for a while back then. They had what they call a Texas, neck collar. So I wore that and actually brought those, shoulder pads with me when I came to Tampa. So draft day, I was in class with probably, ended up being one of the most famous broadcasters, just like you guys, was taking a final exam with Stuart Scott. And I'll never forget that. And somebody came to the room. I can't remember who it was. They sent somebody up from the field office and they said, hey, you got a call it's very important that you need to come to the football office. So back then, just show you how technology was. There was no cell phone. So the kid had to run all the way across campus to get me. I left class and everything and come down. And then I found out that I had been drafted in the 9th round by the Bucs. I went silent because just the fact that I was already pretty much prepared because we had a lot of agents on campus at that time that were signing guys as free agents. So I was prepared when I got back. I got out of my final exam. I was just going to go up and sit down and interview a couple of agents and then look at the free agent market. So I ended up going in the 9th round. I was on the phone at that time with Ray Perkins and Coach Mike DeBose, all from Alabama. And, they was very excited about getting me as part of the draft. They had said they was going to do it earlier, but it seemed like, they, was able to keep pushing down and get some other players. One of them things where I told the coaches, I'm excited. It doesn't matter where I'm drafted. I'm coming to make the team. I end up getting there. I met, guys like Robert Goff from Auburn, Lawrence Tate from Georgia, and, we just all got together, Kerry Gould from Alabama, and it was just an awesome draft class. I felt like, the camaraderie was just awesome when I arrived to Tampa. And I just remember standing out there one day on the field. I've actually lost this teammate in the recent years due to death, Sean Lee, and we were standing there and we looked out. And I told him, I said, man, when I got on the plane, my mom told me, this is your job after college, and you got to go down there and do your best. I don't want to see you back here. We get ready to change your room and everything. So I was like, okay, so that's already been taken. So I'm already being kicked out the house. So I got to go down here and make this team, get this job, and do what I got to do to start my career. And so that that was a little bit of motivation. And then when I got there, just, the city of Tampa was just awesome. I actually had never really been in Tampa, as far as just, a vacation and travel like that. And it just to get down there and get involved, and then also being, part of the team and NFL team, for the first time coming out of college. It was like just a whole nother level of world starting, so to speak. Never had been anywhere without my mom and dad, hadn't traveled, so I was, a little homesick, but that went away pretty quick when I got with the guys and the camaraderie of the recruiting class that we had, and everything. And I just remember standing out on the field one day, just looking at where I was at, and I remember telling Sean and we call it Big Man Robert Goff that, man, you got to love this, the opportunity that we got. I'm going to take full advantage of it. And I did. I ended up actually getting to start about the second or third game, and I put in a tremendous off-season workout program and worked myself into the starting lineup about the second night. I think it was against Philadelphia that I broke in that year in '88. And I never looked back. And I just kept that same demeanor throughout my career, and I ended up with 11 years. And I guess some of it, I guess you can say being in the right place at the right time. Some of it's luck, but a lot of it was just, my dedication, because I knew what I had been through by the fact that I cracked my neck, and was blessed to even be still able to walk out on the field. I mean, I was a hair fracture away from being in a wheelchair. I owe a lot to the UNC staff, and I'm actually still friends and got friends with a lot of those guys on Facebook now and everything. And we had a moment actually about a couple of months ago. Skip Hunter is his name. He was the head equipment guy at that time, and so I owe a lot of my success, my life from college to Skip. And I hate to get a little emotional with it, but it's just like that. I mean, I'm either in a wheelchair or I'm playing football. And so, as you know, I ended up with 11 years. And so, yeah, I've taken advantage of pretty much every opportunity in front of me. And that's what motivates me every day, to know the direction from where I came. And I always look to where I'm going now. It helps me where I want to go now.
And Reuben, you played both end and tackle at a very high level. Did you have a preference, and was there any different approach when you were going to play either position in a game?
Well, it was funny because I had always played like a three technique defensive end. I played a little bit of nose guard at college, but when I got to Tampa, it was all due to my weight. So Tampa, Ray was real strict about guys being lean, fast, and mean. So, I actually trimmed back down, so I was about like 6'4", 269, right at 270. So I preferred actually that three technique and the defensive end. So then I was traded to Arizona. When I got to Arizona, Joe Bridle, who's coming from he's the offensive line coach, and then moved to the head coach at Arizona, had coached the Hogs up there. And so he was used to big guys. And so when I got there, you had guys like Mike Jones, Eric Swan, Keith Ruck, and those boys. And I walked in, and I thought I was in the offensive line room. And these guys are 330, 335, 350, 360, and even a couple 380s up in there. And I walked in, I'm under 300, and they was like, who is he? What is he going to do? So I had to beef up, so I ended up putting weight back on, and that was sort of the transformation for me on my second half of my career. So I beefed up to about 330. But I actually I like the middle because, you could control your own destiny, see things quicker. There was a lot more action in the middle. Defensive end, you really just gotta you become a sack king out there. And, I knew that I wasn't one of those guys that have been blessed with, that tremendous pass rush and the speed. I like just a little bit of that, but my strength was stopping the run. I just been blessed with great hands and great feet. And the way my body is, I have a long torso, but and short legs, so I'm sort of built for that position as a nose guard. So I just adapted to that, and I finished up my career just enjoying playing that nose guard. So if I had to say, I really enjoy being in the middle, and actually been breathing right down, the center's neck. And I know like you said, and that's what actually got me on here messing with Bubba Grimes, and we used to go at it pretty hard and everything. And he schooled me as a rookie and everything. So I learned a lot from Bubba, and I just carried it on. It was just great having somebody like that to go against every day, and it it helped me out throughout my career.
Yeah, Reuben, you're right. We were blessed to have Randy, on the show with us last week, and not only were you teammates with Randy, but you got to go up against him every day at practice, and then you faced each other some as well. What was it like going up against Randy?
Well, the thing about Randy, he was kind of mighty. I don't know. Basically, I just got to give him that word that he's a beast at that time, and I know he was a few years older than me, and so I would imagine now I probably could whip him pretty good right now. But back in the day, I mean, this guy had arms like like Hulk Hogan. I mean, he just he was a monster, and we went at it, and it was like almost like hitting like a Mack truck brick wall every day. And I appreciated that, putting the toughness in me. And he gave me a lot of knowledge on how to do my hands and my stance and, being prepared, as far as just a nose guard. Cause of course he faced a lot of, some of the greats in the game, himself, Cortez Kennedy and those guys. And he held his own, and everything. So, to go against him and be able to practice against him, every day, it couldn't do nothing but help and improve me and Sean. Yeah.
And Reuben, kind of going back to your second season in the league, 1989, you had a huge game in Week 11 of that season against the Bears up in Chicago. A couple of sacks. You had a pick six in that game. Take us through your memories of what that game was like.
And actually, that comes up quite a bit. I do remember that. Big Ron Holmes come off the end, and he hit the quarterback from the blind side. I'm trying to remember. Was that? Yeah, I think it was my man, wasn't it? And ball shot up in the air, come down in my hands, and I was just happened to be going the right direction, and it felt like the longest yard run in my life, but it was only 13 yards, but it felt like I had went about 300 yards. And I was completely out of breath, so excited that I actually had to get oxygen when I got to the sideline. The guys were just all on top of me, just pounding me. So, it took me a minute to get my breath because I was at the bottom of the pile. And that was like a coming out party for me. That put a lot more confidence in me, and everything. And I look back on it, we laugh a lot. As far as the guys that remember that play that I played with, we talk about that play a lot. And I didn't even get a touchdown in college. So yeah, it was incredible. I would never forget that. That was awesome. I know my phone was ringing off the hook, when I got home. And again, we still hadn't got into the cell phone era. So you couldn't get calls till you got back home, and everything. It's so funny to be thinking like that. And that's just stuff, it's just like how time has changed. I mean, I'm actually sitting there talking to you guys on a cell phone, but, back in the day, you was always had to wait till you got back home, or you went by the office or over to One Buck place and did an interview or stuff like that. So times have changed. But yeah, that weekend, man, that game, it's in the books with a lot of the guys. You may remember Odie Harris. I'm friends with him, and Facebook has actually opened up a lot of doors to get attached back to a lot of guys, Ricky Reynolds and all the boys. So I mean, I've pretty much found a good 75% of the other players that I played with, made contact with, and been in touch. And we're trying to get some stuff going. And I mentioned Kerry Gould earlier. He's been diagnosed with that ALS and everything, and I'm trying to get down hopefully to see him soon. And we just send messages and stuff back to each other, on a daily basis. So it's, the game of football was rough on us. I was listening to Tony about, the injuries and stuff like that. And I was blessed that I didn't get any other major injuries in my NFL career. I mean, I did, the normal stuff with the knees. And, but, I actually, what ended my career was, I ruptured both Achilles, and actually ruptured my left one twice, and that's what did it. I wasn't able to come back from that. So I retired, like I said, in 99 and everything. So yeah, just one of the things that's sitting around, like I said, that's one game, that Chicago game that comes up a lot with my friends and from memory and stuff like that. So it's that part of it has been fun, but and if I had to do it all over again, I would go back at that. I know we got a lot of stuff going on with concussions, that type of deal right now. I had plenty. I probably played with some because, just like Tony said, back in the day, I think we were made out of different material. I'm not knocking the guys that's playing now, but I know there's a lot of times that I wasn't necessarily playing with pain. I was playing with an injury. I remember I had tore my calf my second year in Tampa, but I still played. We just wrapped it up, and I just sucked it up and went out there, So that's one of them things that, if you had hindsight, would you do it again or whatever? And I would. I mean, I just, I would still play the game the way I played it.
And Reuben, you were on the '94 team with San Diego, a team that broke my heart as a Steelers fan because you beat my boys in the AFC Championship game and went on to the Super Bowl against the 49ers. I still have nightmares of Dennis Gibson knocking that pass down intended for Barry Foster at the goal line towards the end of that game. But what do you remember about that AFC Championship game?
Oh, I remember everything about that game. From the fact when the plane landed, we come in, it was being very cold. Was expecting snow the next day, and we came in 2 days early. Stayed downtown. I remember that at the hotel. So we did a lot of walking around and shopping and just hanging out. And I have a good friend. He wasn't actually he retired from the Steelers. Delton Hall came by the hotel. We hung out a little bit. We played ball together in high school. As he went on to Clemson, and it was a great DB. He actually played a little bit at San Diego, and so we hung out in Pittsburgh. He was awesome player with Pittsburgh. And then the next day, pretty much just. I got mentally prepared. The coaches, they put a different letter in everybody's room on your bed that they wanted you to read. It was different passages and quotes from different people. And mine actually was from Bruce Lee. And it was just talking about the determination and the fight and the will to never quit. And I read that whole thing. And I remember when the game started, we felt like, we had a chance, but we knew that Pittsburgh was strong. And I think a lot of guys just played above and over, out of their minds and over their heads. I mean, then being on a team with a guy like, Junior Seau, I can't describe what it's like to be in a locker room with a guy like that. I mean, he was just flat, furious. I mean, his eyes just had blood in. I mean, this guy was just believable. And the way he practiced, he played like that 24/7. His energy never dropped. He come in the huddle, and if he felt like you were tired, he'd get right in your face and pump you up and get you back together. So all we knew we had to do was just hang in there, get the bus shut down and everything, and then all we had to do was work on the quarterback. And I was facing one of the greatest centers again, along with training from again going back to Bubba, but Damani Dawson. And I'm actually just made friends with him about 3 weeks ago on Facebook. So we've been talking about that. So it's funny you bring this up. We talk about that game, and I knew that this guy, Pro Bowler, he's out of the world quick, and they do a lot of pulling the center. And it's very rare that you see a team use a center to pull instead of the guard. So I knew I had to be on my P's and Q's. We played what we call a cock nose. So I knew I was going to take a beating on my side from pretty much both guards. And so I did a lot of shifting that day. One of the things we beat them with, we incorporated a lot of movement up front, sliding the front and shifting. If you go back and look at that game, you see a lot of movement from us up front, a lot of outside calls. We sent a lot of Sam and weak side linebackers to keep them off guard. And we actually, like I said, when we got the run shut down, we knew all we had to concentrate then was getting back, and just, throwing our ears back and going and get the quarterback. And we ended up putting you guys in a lot of situations where it was third and long. And that was the key really for that game. And then, to get down there, when it came down to, I guess you said that nightmare when it got down to the end zone down there, and it was 4 downs, and we knew we had to stop, and it was on the defense. We went back to when we got in the huddle. I just remember Junior saying, guys, this is why we play the game. This is what we're here for. This is a one in a lifetime. And, we don't have anything to lose. We've come this far. Nobody expects us to even be here. Nobody even seen us even coming as a possible Super Bowl contender. So all we got to do is play our style of ball for 4 downs. That's all we got to give up. It ain't about another season. It ain't about another team, it's about this moment. 4 downs, just like in practice, baby. Let's get it done. I'll never forget that. And each time we came back to the huddle, he repeated it until that pass was knocked down. And I remember falling to my knees, and I think that made the Pittsburgh paper with my assistant coach hugging me and everything. And I had the big cigar in my mouth, and I actually still have that in a box. And actually, I'll never forget that. My mom has passed since then, and I remember just after the game, just hugging her, and just we're going to the Super Bowl. We headed to Miami, and just seeing the tears roll down her eyes. She was a huge football fan. And she was just one of those ladies that actually knew the game. And she said, I seen when y'all come out, and the formation y'all got in, I knew we had it. I love, she said, I don't know what y'all call that, but I love that formation. And I told her it was called 64 Eagle. And it was just something that was special, very special. Yeah, that was the beat. So to add to your nightmare, now just remember if you hear the word 64 Eagle, that's what beat you. That's what beat you. 64 Eagle.
Bob, one more for Reuben before we let him go.
Sure. What always amazed me about guys like yourself, Reuben, very, very big men, but incredibly quick. And for you to maintain that over 12 years or so, I was just wondering, well, how did you maintain it as far as the off-season workouts? What did you do to keep that quickness, Reuben?
Well, you guys, know much about Tampa. When I first moved to Tampa, like I said, I was homesick. So after my first year, I stayed in an apartment right down from the campus, from one Buck place over there for Dale Mabry from the original old stadium. And then, I needed to get back in my environment. So I actually moved out to a place called Valrico, if you may be familiar with that, Brandon, Florida, Valrico. And I was trying to find that not the palm trees, but the pine trees and that look in the country. And I found that. So I found a neighborhood out there, and called Mason Oak. And it seems like every time I come to Tampa too, I actually go out there. It's still the same. It's a community of about 40 some homes. And so it wasn't gated. It was right up the road from River Hills out there with the golf course. And so I moved out there, and at that time it was nothing out there. So I had all those fields, all that training, all that to just run. And I used to go up there to Life Fitness in the evening. It was private. And I put in work up there. Nobody knew who I was till right there at the end. It started slipping out that I was one of the Buccaneers, and so things sort of changed then. But up to that point, I got to just enjoy myself, go out and do what I wanted to do in the community. As far as working out and the neighborhood, I could just, it was basically like a 2 to 3 mile loop. And so I would go out, I jog, I put my time in coming back and forth over to one Buck place and everything. And, I just got to give that, and really it goes all the way back to the fact that, spending all those dark times basically in the basement, rehabbing my neck. And I knew that the only way you're going to be successful is to get your body at the best that it could. So, I think, breaking my neck early in my career, was something that just instilled, that work ethic. One of the things I sort of wished I had been a little bit more, hard on myself about was, actually lifting weights, but God just blessed me with, inner strength that, I got away with a lot just because there are a lot of guys who get mad. It's like, I don't know how he do it, but, he don't put as much in the weight room as we do. He train, but I could come in and pass all my weight tests, and lifting. So, that was sort of like kind of a rare thing for me. I remember Sean Lee, Ray Seals, and those guys that used to just shake their head like, this sucker he ain't been here in the gym like we have. They, I maybe put 2 or 3 days in. Those guys were like 5, 6 days a week, in the weight room. I did more conditioning. But when it came time to put the numbers up on, bench press and squatting like that, I was either right at the top 5 or I was actually, in the top 3. And so I just look back on, one, being just blessed from my situation that happened at Carolina. And, like I said, I owe that one guy and we friends on Facebook. So, Skip on if you're out there listening, and I've already sent him a couple times through Facebook, just to let him know that, he's responsible for my NFL career and everything. And, he didn't make, the decision for me. You know, my mom didn't even need it. She looked at me and said, hey, you know, we're going to leave that to you. I mean, it's just up to you. You know, the consequences and which way this can go. So it basically came down to like I said, to the thickness of a hair strand, for me being in a wheelchair or playing 11 years of football. And God blessed me, and I ended up with 11 years of football. Yep.
Reuben, before we let you go, let our listeners know, what are you doing now?
Actually, man, I got a thing that I actually started in Tampa. I've actually was as you know, I was mentioned earlier that when I mentioned Stuart Scott, I majored in mass communications and journalism and broadcasting and stuff like that. So I actually haven't dipped over in that. I've actually done a little bit what. But my thing was I've always had a love for music. So when I came to Tampa, I used to do a lot of DJing around at the little local bars and clubs and everything. And when I got to Arizona, I picked up and then I did it. I was big time in San Diego. So when I retired, I actually came home when I first got home and retired in '99. I did a family business of concrete construction, and after the economy went bad in 2008, we sort of shut that down. So I got a chance to work with my dad and spent a lot of time with him and enjoying that. He's actually still alive, but he's sitting on the front porch waving. So actually, right now, what I have going on, I'm like I said, back on the hill in Chapel Hill, and I've started up a mobile DJ business that has jumped off, and so I'm doing weddings, stuff like that, sneaking in on people, and they eventually see my profile and find out that I'm an NFL player, but just showcasing my skills that as far as being a mobile disc jockey, and I'm also involved with kids. I have a summer camp in Greensboro that we do every year. Started about 3 years ago. We call it Fundamentals 52. It's a friend of mine that oh man, I don't know what to say about Earl. Earl was he's God, man. The Arena League. He coached that for a few years and everything. And so he just put together a camp, and we call it Fundamentals 52. We started out with first year with about 55, 70 kids, and then we're averaging about 300 kids in the last couple of years. We do that every year, but in June. So it usually falls about the second week of June in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so, like I said, you can catch it on the internet, fundamentals52.com. And that's the fundamentals at the end instead of an S is spelled with a Z. So it's fundamentals52 and .com. And so I have that going on. I'm a part of that. And then, like I said, my biggest thing is just traveling and touring up and down the Southeast. And I'm actually coming to Florida, but I'm going to be over in the Panhandle area for the Kentucky Wildcats doing the spring break party down there in a couple of weeks. So it's taken me around the globe a little bit as far as the Southeastern channels, basically up to Pennsylvania and Virginia and stuff like that. I've done a lot of military events and corporate events for Sprint and stuff like that. So it's booming. I'm having a great time with it. I'm actually on the internet. You can check me out. I go by the name of the Big Joker, aka DJ FX. I'm on Facebook. You can look up my page, the Big Joker. I'm also on my site where I get a lot of my gigs. It's actually called gigmasters.com. I'm on there and I'm listed as the Big Joker.
Cool.
There you go. Great stuff, Reuben. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking time out of your night to be a part of the show. You've been fantastic. I hope you come back and join us again sometime. Love to get some more time with you.
Yes, sir. Anytime, take me. I got a lot of stories to tell. Any angle you guys want to go with it, I've actually enjoyed it. Bob and Chris, and I appreciate y'all. I wasn't actually trying to even solicit for an opportunity to be on here. I was just messing with Bob. I love the guy. Like I said, just to see he's still doing good and posting on Facebook. Like I said, we become friends. So I was messing with him because I knew the times that we used to have together. But I appreciate it giving me an opportunity to come in and too, because I'm humble. I'm laid back, and like I said, I just been taking my second part of my life pretty easy and just enjoying what football gave me the opportunity to do and be. Yeah.
There you go. So thank you so much, Reuben. We'll catch up again with you hopefully real soon. In between now and then, all the best to you, what you're doing, and to your family as well.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I'll be listening myself now that I got you guys hooked up and everything. I'll be checking y'all out, trying to keep up with the guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, take care, Reuben. Thank you for that. That is former North Carolina and Tampa Bay Bucs. Also spent some time with the Cardinals and Chargers. But Reuben Davis, fantastic stuff, Bob.
Oh man, what a great guy, Chris. It struck me, a 9th round draft pick, and man, it seemed like his mom was such an inspiration, and with hard work, man, the guy put in such a great career. Didn't miss many games, and was a very, very good player. And of course, I love his energy with the DJ stuff, Chris. I'll go to any party he's doing, man. And so, yeah, I'd love to have him on the TV side up here. Anytime you can talk to a guy like that, it's great. So that was a great guy to speak with tonight. Can't wait to do it again.